So you were saying that how does each of the days progress, or what's involved in the days?
So
Classroom
typical run of the day. Students arrive about 8 o'clock. The car gets teched, it gets looked at, but not hard, not like you would for a driver school or for an autocross kind of a thing. You're looking, be sure the tires aren't corded. The battery's going to be held down so it's not flopping around. There's no huge leaks of any kind of fluid, and that's kind of it.
We check air pressure and show the kids how to do that.
Right.
And so they're given a tire gauge, and we do the first one and talk them through it, and then we hand them the gauge and have them go around and if there's adjustments that need to be made either up or down, we do that there. We show them where the specific air pressure should be that's on their car, the decal that's on their car. So that gets them going. Classroom typically starts about 9 o'clock. We do a 20-minute, this is who we are, why we're here, this is what you're going to be doing, this is how this is going to work. Then we split the class up into two. Then everybody goes out and does what we call the wake-up drill, because at that point, first of all, the students don't want to be there. Kids don't want to be there at all. So they're getting up way too early on a Saturday or a Sunday. They're pissed off. They're sitting there listening to some fat white guy that looks like their history teacher from school. So they're thinking, this is really going to be boring. I don't want to do this. So after we babble for a while, we take them outside and do what we call the wake-up drill, which is just threshold braking. 3 times, twice, whatever, depending on how many students you got. Get them to squeal tires, get them to brake really, really hard, something most of them have never done before. Get them to feel the ABS pump. Okay, so that's kind of the big thing right there. Then the two groups that we've split up, one stays out. Typically the older students stay out on the course. The younger ones come back into the classroom. And then we've got about an hour to an hour and 10-minute classroom period. They're out there driving around. We do classroom, then we switch. And the ones that were in class now go out. The classroom in the morning is a lot about vehicle dynamics, about why the car is doing this when you do that. A lot about tires, keeping the proper inflation, blah, 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 blah. How do you handle a skid? How do you handle oversteer? What is oversteer and understeer? How do you handle it? How do you correct it? Kind of basic things like that. Then, we switch the class. Then the ones that were in class are driving. At the end of that hour and whatever, it's usually time for lunch by that point. So everybody eats on site. That's something that the local has to set up. So everybody eats lunch. We do 2 or 3 different demonstrations at lunch. We get a semi-truck on site. We park cars around it, like there would be if you're driving down the interstate, setting up blind spots. We let all the students get up in the cab of the truck and shut the door and look in the mirrors and not see the cars, especially the one directly behind it. So they understand when they're driving on the interstate not to get in these areas because the trucker can't see them. We'll let the parents get up in there. We'll let coaches get up. Anybody can do it, but it's always students first. We blow up an airbag on site. So they're hearing in the classroom how to sit in the seat, how to hold the steering wheel. Don't put your hands on top of the airbag. Don't put your feet on top of the airbag on the passenger side, But then they see this airbag blow up, and typically we put a water bottle on top of it, and the water bottle goes 40 feet up in the air. They kind of go, holy crap, that's 10 inches away from my face. It kind of drives that point home a little bit better. Then after that's over, we just start all over again. The young kids go back into the classroom. The older ones go back out on the course. We changed the course up a little bit, made the slalom a little bit harder. Instead of a single circle skid pad, we'll do a figure 8 in a lot of places. Changed up some of the braking exercises. Instead of just a straight brake, now it's a brake and a turn, so they get the ABS and still able to steer. Driving home, some of those kind of things. The classroom session in the afternoon is different. It's talking about how to handle risk, what the common distractions are. So we talk about phone usage. There's some video that we'll show with that. Tires are all in the morning.
Yeah.
Afternoon it's more about
Attitude.
making good choices and just what's it take to have a real good attitude, how to handle road rage, what to do when you're pulled over by a cop, what not to do, what to do and what not to do.
Wow.
We just threw a little segment in there this last couple weeks ago. I was trying something new about bicycles. There's one of our bigger supporters in North Carolina is a big bicyclist, and he just had a buddy get really hurt in a car wreck. So we got a little thing in there about how to drive around bicycles and what they should be doing and what you should be doing, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then we switch again, after the hour of classroom for that. Then at the end of all of that, we'll do a tailgating exercise where we've got 2 lanes, got a row of cones right down the middle of 2 lanes, have an instructor row on one side and the students on the other. And it looks kind of like a drag race. You have somebody stand in the middle and you say, let the instructor go, then you let the student go. The instructor pulls out the students on the other lane and they get a comfortable distance away from the back of the instructor car.
Yeah.
And then the instructor locks his brakes up.
Right.
Just brakes as hard as possible. And they have to react and stop before the front of their car goes past the back of the instructor car, or they rear-ended them.
Rear end. Yeah.
Yeah. So, luckily the kids don't go, well, but that's a track-prepared car, and he's got much better brakes in his Porsche than I do in my minivan.
Yeah.
But, so what? It's a
Yes.
little more effective that way.
Yeah.
So you do that 2 or 3 times. Where we can, and not enough usually, but where we can, we'll do a 2 wheels off exercise. We'll go to the edge of the pavement wherever this venue is and literally steer them so they're dropping 2 wheels off the pavement so they learn how to recover from that.
Yeah.
Because most of the time on the news you hear people overcorrected, so they're panicking and putting in a lot of steering, and the car does what you tell it to. It shears off and goes to the other side of the road in front of another car or into a tree or whatever. We'd love to be able to do that more, but most of the venues don't allow that.
Yes.
1, physically, and 2, you're going to tear up my pavement or something. So, but if we have the ability to do that, we like to do that as well. Then we've got a little 15-minute conclusion kind of a thing, a little graduation. We hand them a certificate and send them on their merry way. So it's a full day. It's a really full day, but it goes really well.
During the day, do you see the change in them?
Oh, absolutely. The kids come
it
in
drops,
the morning and they're sitting
the light goes
like
on.
this, and
Yep.
as soon as the tires get squealing and they start doing stuff, they're like, hey, this is kind of fun.
Yep.
When they hear your parents not going to be in the car, they're not going to yell at you for the way you're driving. They're going to be sitting over here, you're out there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Yeah, they change their mind pretty quickly.
Right.
That's one of the biggest reasons the volunteers really like to come back.
Right.
When they see the change in the students, see them learning.
See the little light bulb come on their head that, okay.
And
And being very timid in the car, scared to death of the car and all that. And by the end of the day, they're out there kind of throwing it around on a skid pad or braking really hard and understanding what all that means. It makes a big difference. I typically, if I'm doing classroom, I'll do a corny thing, pull my money clip out and go, here's $95. If you come to me at the end of the day and tell me you didn't have a good time and you didn't learn anything, I'll give you your money back. I've been doing this for 17 years. I've never given anybody any of their money back. So,
Can you talk a little bit about choosing a venue and also the instructors training?
sure.
Not everybody's an instructor.
The venue typically, like I was saying, is a big, a stadium. I won't say football. A stadium, parking lot, a mall, something where you've got enough surface area. We can deal with some light poles. Some light poles are okay. A lot of light poles aren't, and any big landscape islands kind of in the middle make it kind of difficult.
Yes.
But if you can't do it all with one big lot, if there's 3 or 4 sections kind of tie it all in together, we can make that work too.
Yes.
So the exercises don't have to be side by side or run concurrently. You can do it in a station format. So you're working on the skid pad, and then move over and just do threshold braking, and then just do the slalom. Or I prefer a circuit where you start out with the threshold braking, then you go do the lane change, then you're coming over and doing the slalom, then you're doing this little road course piece, and then you end up at the skid pad, and then you go back and get in line and do it all over again. Either one of them works. It all depends on just what the venue's gonna how it's gonna lay out and allow.
And the structure is basically each student has an instructor with them.
Right. Each student has a coach with them.
Yeah.
That person stays with that kid all day long. So each instructor will have 2 students,
Right.
one out of every group.
Yes. Yeah.
And the coaches they don't have to be a trained high performance driving instructor level coach, but they need to know what oversteer is, what understeer is, what threshold weight transfer is, be able to explain all of this to a 16-year-old that doesn't even know if it's a front wheel drive car or a rear wheel drive car. Because the kids that come to this, I mean, it's open to the general public.
Yes.
So a lot of the kids that are coming for us, they're not kids of car people.
Right.
We see more minivans and that kind of stuff than we do BMWs and Porsches. So you got to be able to really dumb the language down. We don't use track talk. We don't talk about apexing corners or tracking out or doing anything like that. It's very basic language. So as long as somebody understands the vehicle dynamics part of it, they basically coach for us.
Right.
We've got an online training coaching system that takes about an hour. It's pretty simple. You just sit there and you're clicking buttons and reading this and kind of doing that. Most of our coaches are insulted that they have to go through our training process because they're high performance driving instructors and they've been doing stuff for a long time, but that's the only way we can get everybody to be sure they're singing out of the same page of the hymnal.
A lot of the online stuff also is more basic about talking to teenagers and explaining things.
Yeah, because it's that thing that we know so much that we actually forget how to translate the simple things.
To step it back.
Because we think, everyone knows that, but they don't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And how do you promote the whole?
Well, for us, it's gotten easier when a chapter puts on a school. It feeds the next school.
Right.
It's all really word of mouth. We don't buy any advertising.
Yes.
We don't pay for anything in newspapers or TV or any of that. If you can, great. But that's really when the dog catches the car, and now what are you going to do with it if you got 100 people respond and you only got 30 slots or something?
Yes.
So it's all through either our website. We keep a database. Our website has a button on it. When you go down to our schedule, down at the bottom of the schedule, it says, if you don't see your school here, click here, and you click there, and it opens up a little dialog box that you put in your name and your address. And based on your zip code, when you're within 150 miles of a venue, you're going to get an email from us saying, hey, you wanted a school, here's a school.
Right.
So so we keep that database rolling, and when a school opens, we send it to that. We always send it to the past parents and the past students, because typically that's our best form of advertising.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth of that, because they'll go through the program, the parents will see it and all of that, and they'll go, oh my God, this is great. Start telling people. Then typically the next year when they come back around, they'll go, oh, well, here's that program I was telling you about. You need to send Johnny to it. So
One problem we have, we talk with the media.
Yep.
And a local TV station will be interested, and they'll come out that day and they'll video.
Yep.
And it'll be on the news that night. Well, what we really need is for them to do that 4 weeks ahead of time so we can get the students.
Yes.
And they usually, it's not of interest then.
because that really drives people to the website looking for the next school, thinking there's going to be another one next week or next month.
Yeah.
And the majority of our hosts only do it once a year.
Right.
You know, so and the parents got the kid that just got his license or just got long enough. You have to have 25 hours of experience behind the wheel. I don't know what it is on Australia, but typically you have a permit that you start learning how to drive. You've got to do 50 hours worth of practice, basically.
Yeah.
We don't want them to get their permit on Friday and come to our school on Monday or on Saturday. So we want 25 hours of experience behind the wheel before they come to our school, because what we're doing is intimidating. I mean, we're asking them to throw the car around. I'd love for them to lose control of the car on the skid pad so they can really feel what it feels like as it's breaking away and doing all that. Well, that'll scare a 15-and-a-half-year-old to death in the car.
Can you explain the skid pad? How do you do that?
Skid pad, typical what we started out doing was mixing water, just having a fire hose, having some method of wetting down the pavement, and then we put dishwashing detergent on it. So the soap makes it really slippery, so you're doing a lot of work at a very, very low speed. Pavement type, weather, all of that really wreaks havoc on the water evaporating too quickly. You don't get it slippery enough that way. So what we're pushing now is using cracked corn. You get it in 50-pound bags. You get about 10 bags, 12 bags, and you just spread that out all over the course. That creates a layer that the car can't get traction on and really slides around on it. It's difficult because you got to have at least one, if not two, volunteers pushing the corn around, pushing it back into the drive lane. You know, so it's a little more. You have to maintain it. About half of our venues allow you just drive away, leave the corn there, and just drive away. Because birds eat it, squirrels eat it, all that kind of stuff. The other ones go, hell no, I don't want that stuff around here. You got to sweep it back up and put it back in the bags and take it away with you. So it's kind of a hassle, but it's cheap. I mean, a 50-pound bag of corn's like $12 or something. So it's not an expensive way to do it, but it really works well. Because if the pavement's really, really pitted and really aggressive, that falls down into the holes, fills up those holes, and then corn sits on top of that.
Makes it slippery.
And makes it very slippery. Yeah, it works really well.
The worst problem was we were in New Jersey, we were near the ocean, and we took a break for lunch, and the seagulls came in and were trying to eat all of our corn.
And if you get around an airport, there's a lot of small little community airports that are closed now or something that we can use. Well, if they're still active, they don't want birds being brought.
Of course.
So they get a little protective that way as well. But that works pretty well.
And funding? How do you do this?
We're blessed that we've got a major sponsor. The Tire Rack is a major sponsor. They write us a 6-figure check every year. We've gotten support from Michelin. They've been writing a 6-figure check every year. We got money from BMW, not much, but some. A part supplier here called FCP Euro is also a supplier. So, it only costs $95 for the students to come. It really costs around, last time I tried to do the math, it was about $32 a student, what our hard costs were. So it's the venues, probably half of our venues are free. We don't have to pay for them at all. Bigger cities, especially if it's a kind of a county run, a local municipality run, they'll charge $2,500 for a day. We try not to use those places, but sometimes we don't have a lot of choice. So if you gotta pay for it, those costs kind of ratchet up really quick. Food's another big cost. You try to have donuts and juice and coffee and that kind of stuff in the morning. Then lunch, and lunch can be simple. It doesn't have to be a big deal. You get pizzas. You get 20 pizzas and have them sitting out there and a cooler full of Cokes and stuff. But you try to have some little snack kind of things around for the rest of the day to keep them energized. So we can send you a mock budget. We can kind of send you we've got what we call the event kit that's
Yes.
got every little part and piece to this. It's only about 65 pages or something, but I can email that to you and you can take a look at it, and we'd be glad to answer any questions.
And how many people do you have that are like coordinate the whole?
Right here.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the Brains Trust.
You're
You-
talking to
you-
the,
I'm the only full-time paid employee.
Right.
He's part-time. His wife is part-time. She handles a lot of the
Yeah.
logistics of sending out the coaches' shirts and
Yes.
all of that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it's the three of us.
And-
Now we don't go to every school. He and I don't go to every school.
Right.
We'll go to the schools that it's their first time.
Yep.
Or if they haven't done one in 3 or 4 years and they've kind of
Yes.
lost their core group. The classroom is such a key important part of this. If the classroom isn't done well, the kids are bored, they fall asleep, they quit paying attention, and once you lose their attention, they're gone.
Right.
So we feel it's really, really important to keep the classroom done well. So that's why we always go to the first one. We have them provide somebody that's going to do it from there on, but they shadow us. They watch how we do it. It's all done in PowerPoint, typically on a big TV, a 48-inch or bigger TV. It can be projected too, but sometimes your classroom is under an easy-up tent on the side of the parking lot.
Yes,
So
yeah.
projection,
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
a digital projector is really tough, but
Yeah.
it's all formatted for a big TV and all of that. Quite a bit of video in there. The teams react to video really well. You can only listen to me for so long before they start to get bored. So we've cut up parts of it and put it in video format.
Right.
Different people presenting stuff and
Yeah,
all of that. So
yeah.
it typically will take, for a 25-person school, you're going to need 12 to 14 coaches. You always want to have a coach or two extra. You've got what we call the field marshal. That's somebody out there kind of helping direct traffic and keeping an eye over the skate
Right.
pad and
Yep.
doing all that. You got the crack corn minders watching that. You got somebody that's hustling water and food and all of that around. So you've got probably 10 volunteers on top of the coaches, on top of the head organizer
Right.
we call the registrar.
Yes. Yeah.
one other consideration is cones,
Yes.
traffic cones.
Yes.
So we use 250, 300 cones to set up all the exercises. And
Right. Yeah.
So,
And they don't have to be highway, you don't want big highway cones.
The
You
kids
want
don't wanna
real
hit
little,
those.
You want real little,
we
you know,
use 6-inch cones.
they use 6-inch cones. Most
They don't
people
get caught
use
under a car.
like a 12-inch cone or something.
Yeah.
You're gonna bust 20 of them a day,
Yep.
something like that. Our first school of the year traditionally is in Minnesota in January, when it's like literally 5 below, and when you hit a cone that cold, it just breaks. So they
Their cone
replace,
budget is big.
They replace a lot of cones. Most of the people don't do it in cold weather, but
Yeah.
they get a lot of cold weather. And they used to do a school in January, February, and March, right at the height of their winters. And then the last time they did that in March, it warmed up quicker and there wasn't any snow on the ground, and they had people cancel because there wasn't enough snow on the ground for them. Where,
Yes.
everybody else is going, okay, maybe we can start thinking about doing this in March now that it's warm enough. But I would love some more cold weather schools.
Yeah.
I think that's
Insurance
really cool.
issues.
The main reason we're using BMW club chapters, Porsche club, all that, they provide the event insurance. So it's going on to the chapter to provide the insurance, just like a driver's school or a autocross or something like that, whatever that policy is.
Yeah.
For the BMW club, well, for all of it's a $10 million liability
Right.
policy on that. So we don't, the foundation and Street Survival specific don't have to worry about that.
And has there been many things that you've tried that haven't worked?
Well, the biggest one probably is what I was talking about last night, is trying to market to the teens.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. They
Yeah.
don't want to be there. They've got a driver's license maybe already, so why do they need to still go to school? So that doesn't work. Other than that, we had to worry at the very beginning, 20 years ago, about high center of gravity vehicles falling down.
Yes.
Luckily, those have aged out of the process.
Yes.
That now they all have stability control, electronic traction control, that kind of stuff. We always leave all of the nannies on. We talk about, don't even think about turning off traction controls or any of that. It's like driving around without your seatbelt on. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
We try not to make it a forbidden fruit kind of a thing.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, you should really see what this car will do if you
Yeah.
turn that off, because that going to the male 16-year-old brain is not a good thing. But luckily, we haven't had to worry too much about cars falling down, because at the very beginning, we didn't worry about that. We didn't know about that, and we had some problems. We had some incidents. We've done 1,250 schools, 30,000 students. Haven't had a vehicle damaged in probably 2 years, and when it is, it's somebody backing into a fence post or brushing a light pole or something like that.
Yeah.
One thing we do look out for nowadays are heavily modified vehicles.
Yep.
Somebody wants to bring a lifted truck or
Really
dad's
big tires
turbo,
or something like that.
turbo Porsche and
Yes.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to just keep an eye on those and verbally describe what's not allowed, because you're filling out a form. Well, what's your car? Well, it's a Chevy Blazer. Okay, fine. And then they show up and it's on a lift kit that's
Yeah.
4 feet up in the air with big monster tires on it. It's like, oh, that's a problem. You can't do that here. So, but we don't get a lot of that.
Yeah.
We don't get a
It's
lot
to
of that.
try to replicate the road car that they're driving.
Exactly. They
in
need to
those
be.
conditions.
They really need to be in the car they're going to drive the most, no matter
Yes.
what it is.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll get the dad that's signing up their kid from the Porsche club or the BMW club. That, well, I want him to do it in my new M3.
Yeah.
Well, is he going to drive that every day? Well, hell no. Then why do you want him to do it in that?
Yes.
Give him the clapped out Volvo wagon that he's going to be driving on bad suspension and worse tires and
Yes.
mediocre brakes, because he needs to feel what that car feels like when it starts to break loose, not your new car with all the bells and whistles and better tires on it. So that's kind of the thrust there.
Wow. Well, that's
It's a
absolutely.
lot to absorb.
It's absolutely fantastic, but that's so succinct.
If
really.
if you want, I can probably jump over on Dana's computer and print out one of these if you want to take a hard copy of it that you
Yeah.
can be reading on the way home,
Yep.
since you got a little bit of time. Rather than just having me email it to you, we can probably print
Yeah.
one of them out here.
Yeah. No. And do you have any online resources on your website or?
Some, but not a lot.
Yeah.
It's more stuff that we will send to you.
Right.
We're a little. We started out being very protective of all of our stuff because nobody was doing this
Yes.
the way we're doing it.
Yes.
So we didn't want to give a lot of the resources available for absolutely everybody.
Yep.
So we kind of just hung on to that idea.
Yeah.
Really, but this event kit will probably answer at least 80% of your questions, I would think.
We have a couple one-pagers that you can use when you talk to a venue, explaining to them
Yes.
what we're looking for, from them and what we provide.
If you walk into the facility manager's office and you've got your car club shirt on and your hat, Empower hat on or something like that, they're not going to hear you after, I'm from a car club and I want to use your venue. They're not going to hear whatever you say after that, because the answer is no.
Yep.
But if you go in as a community activist, very concerned about the current status of driving education in Australia, and you want to bring this program to them, it'll be held by by a car club of like-minded enthusiasts, but advocates for teen safety, then that's a little different approach.
Ah, okay.
They don't put up the barriers.
Yes.
Of, no, you're going to be racing and
Yes.
tearing up my parking lot and doing all that kind of stuff. There's going to be damage to the parking lot. There's no way to not do that without leaving skid marks. But
Yeah.
that's it, is
Yeah.
skid marks.
Yeah.
And if they hit a fence, if they hit a pole, if whatever, that's what the event liability insurance is for. We repair it. It's kind of easy.
Is it satisfying for you guys to actually do this? You obviously it would be if you've been doing it for 20 years.
My testimonial is I quit a 25-year architectural practice to do this, and within probably 6 months of doing it as a job, I got an email from a mom that said, my kid went through your class, we were driving home last night, a semi-truck, almost ran us off the road, we went sideways, he corrected it, got us back, I was screaming, he was like, Mom, I got this, your program saved our lives. I never had that as an architect. I never had anybody write me saying, I just went through the lobby of the bank and oh my God, it changed my life. So yeah, I mean, I literally I looked at it yesterday when I was putting a new testimonial in. I got 39 pages of testimonials that we get back from parents and past students and stuff. And some of them will be years afterwards. I took your class 3 years ago, and today I was driving home in the rain and a bucket of drywall fell off a pickup truck in front of me, and I knew what to do. I remembered. I didn't even think about it. I just did it. It's very satisfying.
We've done a lot of school between us, and I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and it's like, oh my God, I have to do this again. And you get there, and by 9 o'clock, you see the faces of the kids learning something, and it's like, I know why I'm here.
Yes. Yeah.
In the end of the day, you're tired, but the kids have had fun. The parents are over the moon. I mean, they're just, when can I do this? That's usually the first thing out of their mouths is, I need to do this. When can I do this? When can my husband do this? When can whatever? Our major sponsor says, well, when you teach the last teenager, then you can start using our money to start teaching the adults. In the U.S., we make 10,000 16-year-olds a day. Okay, so we did 2,740 something students in our best year. We got a ways to go.
That's